I've always traveled my entire life. You know, my family's from another country, so it's kind of like in my blood to constantly travel and see other places and experience other cultures. But once I got to the place where I was able to do it again, it became my therapy. Because like I feel like when I'm like home or whatever, like I have constantly the same thoughts. I'm thinking about the same like 5 or 10 things. But then like when I'm in another country or I'm in another city, I have completely different thoughts. So I'm like thinking about, ooh, what restaurant should I go to? Or who are these people? Or I start a conversation with a stranger and then it goes really deep. And then just being in a new environment, I just feel like it's super therapeutic.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 98 of the Andrew Deitch podcast, coming to you from sunny Orlando, Florida. To bring you a very special episode. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much. Really appreciate you checking out the show. This show is all about having meaningful conversations with people all over the world who are changing the world. And I love sharing people's stories and learning about their life experiences. It's so interesting for me. And like I said, I'm in Orlando for a little mastermind trip with a good friend of the podcast, Klaudia Sarmiento, who is on episode 58. And we're doing a week of co-working and fun times with some other folks as well. Hopefully I'm going to record some episodes with some of them. But enough about that. Let's jump into the show. My guest today is Klaudia Jakubiak. And I think I'm saying her name correctly, but I say it correctly at the beginning of the show. She's an avid traveler who is constantly seeking to deepen human connections and better understand the world. And through her travel blog, The Travel Critic, she shows her followers the best places to eat, stay, and play all over the world. And she also sprinkles a lot of information about wellness tips, a lot of inspiration, and she takes you on her journey of self-discovery through traveling. And on this episode, she shared her story of coming here as a Polish immigrant and learning English as a second language, her battle with depression in college, and why traveling has become so important to her mental health, confidence, and her purpose. And we're both so passionate about traveling. This podcast is definitely proof of that. I live in Atlanta, and currently Klaudia is based out of Detroit. So we actually recorded that podcast in Detroit, but we recorded this one the day before I actually left on a big 6-week trip this summer, and she is currently in Chiang Mai, and I'm in Orlando as I record this right now. So since this podcast was recorded, we've both been on the road a ton. So that just means that we're living our truth. We're living out what we do. So anyways, without any further ado, please welcome the travel critic herself, Klaudia Jakubiak. All right, we are live. Klaudia Jakubiak.
Yes.
Perfect. I said it properly just because it was like 2 seconds since you pronounced it properly. So it's like towards the end of the podcast, I probably won't be able to say it right.
Yeah, I'll make you say it towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to say my entire name is kind of wild because you pronounce it Klaudia Patricia Jakubiak.
See, I was see, that's why I also was like, how do you pronounce your name properly? Yeah. Because I was like, I didn't know if it was Klaudia.
Yeah, it is.
Or just
it's super foreign.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, because I've seen on your Instagram stories, like you're talking with your mom and stuff. Where is your family from?
Yeah, so my story, it's interesting, but my family's from Poland. I was born in Vienna. So I was born in Vienna, and then my family came over to the States when I was like 8 months old. So my mom and dad were like 19 and 22, came to America not speaking English, nothing, like zero savings, just started their lives like at a very young age here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I know.
Okay, I want to ask you more about that. But before we dive into that completely, kind of tell people like who you are and what you do right now. Just kind of like quickly, like, yo, I'm Klaudia, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what do you say if like people are like, hey, what do you do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So right now my focus is to the travel blogging. So the Travel Critic, it's something I've been doing for about 2.5 years. It's in my creative release from the corporate world. Cause after being in the corporate world for about 6 years, I'm like, wait, this isn't really aligned with who I am. So I started the travel blogging and whatnot the last 2.5 years. So what I do is try and showcase the best places to eat, stay, and play. So restaurants, hotels, experiences, and now just getting a little bit deeper into it, and really meeting like the locals and kind of, I wish I could be like female Bourdain, right? Like that would be like ideal dream job. So that's kind of what I've been doing in the last couple years, and that's kind of where I want to focus.
That's really cool.
It's been fun. Yeah.
Very, very fun.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of girls want to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's like a very like trendy thing. Like man, I don't want to work anymore. I just want to travel and eat and go to the best places. Yeah. But like, there's definitely a science to figuring out how to actually be able to do that for a living. Yeah. Rather than just like, I'm going to start an Instagram, you know what I mean?
No, 100%. And like, it is kind of annoying because it's become so saturated and people like literally buying followers and likes and all of that. And so it's like, you kind of lose like the authenticity, and it's so annoying trying to like sift through that, you know, because you see so many people doing it and like so many people doing it in the wrong way, and it kind of like takes away from the experience, you know? Yeah. So it's just like, you have to just kind of stick to what you're doing and why you're doing it at the end of the day.
Yeah. You know? I think a big part of that too is like being able to really find like a specific kind of like niche group of people and like actually prove that you're an influencer, because because it's like the follower count to an like unexperienced brand that wants to do like some sort of brand deal or whatever, they're not going to understand. But if you can like show real results, like, yo, I did this brand deal, and like look at actual sales that came in, or like actual traffic or whatever.
No, 100%. I mean, I think that's how you really prove your influence, and that's what makes you an influencer. Like, people, and it has to be organic too, and it has to be natural and kind of aligned with your brand, and have people, you know, want to do what you're doing or buy what you're, you know, showcasing.
Because I think also like a lot of people just think like, oh, I just got to be like super consistent and just post every day and whatever. But it's like, if your stuff isn't resonating and you're not actually influencing, or nobody's like looking up to you actually, then it doesn't.
Exactly. Why are you? Kind of why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Trying to flex on everybody.
Exactly.
That's pretty much what everyone's
I know that part gets annoying. You know, the whole Instagram world. It's gotten very interesting. It's kind of like the wild, wild west, though. You know. Yeah. Like, no one really knows what they're doing. People are making a career out of it, but you have to really hone in on like your niche and, you know, your influence.
Very cool. Okay. So to actually back up, we're in a very interesting place. We're in, number one, I'm not in Atlanta, even though we both, you lived in Atlanta.
I was there for the last year. Yeah.
There we go. And I currently live in Atlanta, but you're now in Detroit, and I'm in Detroit for a wedding. And we're sitting in, what's this like actual building called?
So this is the Russell Industrial Center.
Very cool.
And it's a very eclectic place. A lot of weird shit goes down here. I've come here for a couple shady parties. But yeah, that's kind of, I honestly don't know what goes on here. There's like all these different studio spaces that are basically just like open and empty. Yeah. And we were like trying to find one. Most of them were like kind of like echoey, but like the one that we found that was the least echoey, we think is a trash room. It's for sure a trash room.
We're surrounded by a lot of trash right now, but surprisingly it doesn't smell bad.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't smell bad. It's a lot of like cardboard boxes and like egg cartons and like food containers and stuff, but like it doesn't smell, but it's definitely an interesting place for a podcast.
It is. This has to be like your most unique space that you've podcasted in. No?
I don't know. I'm trying to like think back. There's definitely been some weird ones. Yeah, this might be like the grungiest. Yeah. I think this is probably the grungiest.
But that's kind of like Detroit though, so I'm kind of glad you're experiencing it because it kind of resonates with Detroit in general.
No, it totally does. Because I'm literally looking out this window and I'm seeing this like old, like in like factory looking building with all these little tiny windows that are like, some of them are like broken out and stuff. Like literally that's like when we pulled up, my dad was like, did everyone bring their bulletproof vest? Like, which is pretty funny, but I'm like, oh no, it's like right around the corner. It's okay, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but anyways, so that's the context for where we are right now. But I wanted to go back because you were talking about your parents coming here from Poland, and obviously you said you came here from when you were 8 months old, so you don't really remember. Right. But like growing up in that household, like growing up in that environment, what was that like?
Yeah, so it was hard. I remember me and my mom still talk about this. My first day when I was going to kindergarten, my mom had to drop me off and she couldn't speak English. I couldn't speak English.
Wow.
And we just cried. And then I got on the bus and like, I just remember kids talking to me in school and I had no idea what they were saying.
Whoa. So you were like how old at this point? In kindergarten, you're like 4 or 5?
Yeah, around there. Yup.
So in your household, like before that, because you said you're like 8 months old, pretty much like you just spoke like Polish.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So English was my second language. And it was hard because I got bullied.
I can tell. You have a really thick Polish accent.
I know. Everyone's always like, wait, what? You speak another language? I was like, yeah. But no, it was definitely hard because, first of all, my parents, were still young in a brand new country.
Yeah, you said, what, 18 and 22 or something?
19 and 22.
19 and 22,
yeah.
wow.
So they were kind of like babies.
Yeah.
And
jeez, I could not imagine that.
I know, with a child.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking, but they made a good decision, What
was the reason? I mean,
at the time there was communism going on in Poland, and so my parents just kind of wanted to escape that and start a fresh life,
and so
somewhere else.
They got to Austria first.
Mm-hmm. They were at a refugee camp in Austria.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so that's where I was born, and then they got sponsored by my mom's uncle, and that's how they came to Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you came to Michigan first.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
And your mom's uncle already lived here. And he was from Poland too?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and then, that's just kind of how and why they got here.
That's really cool. Okay, so kindergarten, you didn't speak any English. Was it obviously you said people were trying to talk to you and you had no idea?
Yeah, I had no idea. I remember people were it was just like a foreign language to me. I'm I have no idea what these people are saying. I felt like such an outsider. And it was all of, I would say, elementary school. It kind of felt like that, right? But then I had a tutor and whatnot, so that really helped. And then
were you good at assimilating?
Yeah, I feel like I was. But initially, there was a lot of bullying, being picked on, and all of that, just because, you're an outsider. And you have no idea what people are saying. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely rough, I would say, at first.
Yeah. You said bullying and stuff like that. Was anything serious, or was it mainly just people this girl has no idea what I'm saying? Basically, or kind of just laughing at you.
Yeah, that's what it was. And people weren't inclusive. And obviously, when you're a child, you're mean. Yeah. And so you experience that, right? Mm-hmm. And so once I got to high school and middle school, that kind of all changed.
You were quote unquote normal.
Yeah, I was normal at that point.
Super popular.
But I truly made it a point to all A's, senior class president, prom queen. I had this revival almost in a sense. I wanted to prove everyone wrong. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like that is the case with a lot of immigrants. Yeah. They have the chip on their shoulder kind of thing. I'm going to prove everybody wrong, blah, blah, blah. And so, even though, you still definitely, I think a lot of, immigrant families, their parents are the true immigrants and then the kids are basically just, American. Mm-hmm. But, you did experience that, through, being in school and, not speaking the language and stuff. You still kind of had that, probably.
Yeah.
And definitely in your household.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was like that.
For sure. So, yeah.
What did your parents do for work here? What did they do when they got here?
So they kind of just did anything and everything. My dad's first job, he was working at a tile shop or something like that, making a minimum wage. But that's the thing, with foreign parents, they'll do whatever it takes.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Their work ethic is insane. They'll take what, it doesn't matter what it is, they'll just work,
No. And it's that's what's interesting about any type of immigrant or any type of person that leaves some place to come somewhere else for a better life. It's they're the type of people that are tried the hardest, you know what I mean? So their work ethic is so hard, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily trickle down. And I think that's why immigrant parents are so strict on their kids and stuff, Yeah, because I did not experience any of that growing up. My parents' I think my great-great-grandfather was the first one to come from Germany. So by the time I'm around, we're just straight up American. There's no sense of that at all. Exactly. So it's so lost on me. So it's always really interesting to talk to people who have that experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
So you said high school and all that, more normal, prom queen, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Congrats, by the way.
Thanks. I know. It's such an achievement.
Yeah, I know. Is that on your resume?
Of course. Yeah, right.
Can you imagine that? Applying for a job and the only credentials you have is prom queen, senior class president. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so after high school, assuming college.
Yep. Went to Michigan State.
Nice. My mom went there.
Oh, no way. Go Green.
There we go. Go Sparty.
Yeah. Which was, college was amazing. But then again, it was one of those, it was a transformative time in my life because I got into drinking and things that I never did in high school. I was goody two shoes in high school, and then college kind of corrupted me in a sense. But it's all learning, right? It's all part of the process. So, now I don't even drink. I'll have a beer, but back then it was just
kind of go through our phases.
Yeah, exactly. But college was very interesting. And one thing that I experienced, which was insane, and it was like probably the most pivotal moment in my life is experiencing depression for the first time my freshman year in college. And I like literally had to take a semester off. It was insane. And
what was the like
catalyst to it?
Yeah,
so now looking back, like trying to piece it all together, it kind of makes sense. But I was so, like in high school, I was so involved. I knew everyone. I had so many friends, like, right? I had this community. And then I got to college and it was kind of like, no one knows who the fuck you are. There's way smarter people than you. Like I was used to getting all A's and like, you know, top of the class. And then it was just like, wait, no, there's like a lot of smart people here and you're competing against these kids. And it's hard to make friends. You're just a number. And you're away from home. So like all these factors, right? And I got involved into the drinking and everything. So it was just like a 180 from what I was used to. So that was a very big pivotal moment, I would say, in my life, because I went through like the lowest of lows at that time. It was almost like you lose a sense of who you are, because you're like, wait, I'm so used to being on top of it. Like, how can why am I here? Why am I experiencing this? You know?
Well, I think also like we put our identities in like other things and other people. And so like when your identity, like I've heard a lot of like, there was something where they did a study on like former valedictorians, where are they now, kind of thing, and it's like a lot of those people, they like put so much like of their identity in like being the top, being the best, being whatever, and then as soon as they're like kind of quote unquote like exposed to the real world, you know what I mean, they're like, who even am I? I don't have these friends anymore. I'm not popular. I'm not smart. Like, you know, all this. And like, that's one of the things that like I find so interesting about like traveling, especially like overseas, where like you don't know anybody, like getting super out of your comfort zone, because you really do have to examine like, who the fuck am I? Like, who even am I? Because like right now I can go do anything and no one knows who I am. There's no expectations. You know, no one back home is going to know what I'm doing unless I post it on social media or something. So it's very it's pretty like trippy, and it can be kind of depressing if you haven't ever like examined like who you think you are when you strip away everything, like who you are as like as a person.
And it's scary because I think a lot of people like cling to other people, or just like sometimes maybe it's like their job or something, I don't know, but they don't really have a good sense of who they are, you know. And so I'm definitely like on like right now this like self-love, self-discovery journey, because, you know, there's just been a lot of changes in my life and everything. But going back to your point about traveling, like at the time when I was experiencing like this depression and anxiety and everything my freshman year, I couldn't even think about traveling, because I was like, I can't be in a fucking airplane for like 8 hours and not be able to get out, right? Like that thought scared me. But then like, you know, once I like, you know, I got the help I needed, and you know, like I had to go on pills for a bit just to help. But like once I was like okay, I went back to like the traveling, because I've always traveled my entire life. You know, my family's from another country, so it's kind of like in my blood. You know, like it's kind of like in my blood to constantly travel and see other places and experience other cultures. But once I got to the place where I was able to do it again, it became my therapy. It literally has become my therapy. So like people ask me why I travel. Like traveling seriously like my escape in a sense, because like I feel like when I'm like home or whatever, like I have constantly the same thoughts. I'm thinking about the same like 5 or 10 things all the time. But then like when I'm in another country or I'm in another city, I have completely different thoughts. So I'm like thinking about, what restaurant should I go to? Or who are these people? Or I start a conversation with a stranger and then it goes really deep. And then, you know, it's just like you're like on a completely different wavelength at that point. Like you're thinking of different things. And just being in a new environment, I felt like, I just feel like it's super therapeutic.
Totally.
You know, like you're not like in the same thought process and same mindset constantly.
Well, I think like it's weird because like the word trip, like people associate it with like going on vacation or like doing drugs. And it's weird how they're like almost kind of like similar in a way because like if you go on this like big trip, it's like this can be this like transformative experience where you're experiencing new things and you're looking at the world in a different way and you're like kind of like tripping almost, you know what I mean?
That was
and when you take like psychedelic drugs or something, people like, you know, they say like, you know, it opened my eyes to looking at the world in a new way, or like I saw things for the first time or whatever. It's like literally kind of very similar in how you like process it, because you're taking yourself out of like how you normally live, or like how you normally perceive the world, and like stepping into like a new thing. It's actually like it's kind of weird when you think about the word like trip. Like why do they call it that? Oh, because you're like actually taking like a journey sort of. Yeah. But anyways, not to get too like hippy dippy.
No, but like that makes sense.
It totally makes a lot of sense.
It totally makes sense, you know? Yeah.
So you said like obviously, you know, your parents are from a different country. So like growing up in high school and middle school and stuff, did you take trips like overseas with your parents and stuff?
Yeah. So like my parents were always big on, like, we never got like spoiled in terms of getting, you know, huge Christmas presents or anything. Like it was always like we would go on a trip somewhere. So like whether it was Mexico, Dominican Republic, or just like somewhere overseas, you know, like just in another country, just experiencing a different culture. Like that was kind of always their mindset. So we always just traveled, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've gone to Poland, you know, I've gone back home like a couple times, which has been nice. Like last September, I went for my cousin's wedding. She married a Brit, but she's from Poland. The wedding was in Poland, and it was like this amazing like mashup of cultures.
That's so dope.
Like you have like the Polacks getting wasted, and then the Brits are like, okay, we're gonna join. Like this is awesome. So then like everyone's just like wasted until like 4 a.m. Yeah. You know, so it was trips like that are just, you know, it means so much more than any materialistic object or
Is it cool for you to go back to Poland, like being able to speak the language?
Yeah.
Like does it feel like the motherland?
Oh, it does, for sure. And you know what else I found is like when I studied abroad, like when I was in Scotland, there were so many Polish people that moved from Poland to Scotland, Ireland for work. And so it's like everywhere I went, like the restaurants, the bars, like everyone's speaking Polish. And I was like, dude, I'm in Scotland, but I'm speaking Polish. Like this is so sweet, you know? Yeah. So like that has become like very, very useful. You know,
that's really cool.
Yeah, despite like what country I'm in, like you'll always find someone speaking Polish.
That's the weird thing about a lot of European countries. Is like you'll find people speaking all different languages. Like in like Belgium, like there's like the official languages are like French and German and English. Like they'll do the announcements in like all the different languages. So it is interesting. I wish that I could speak like a different language like fluently. Yeah. Because like in high school I didn't take it seriously, like taking Spanish and stuff. But I wish I did, because now I'm like, damn.
Well, it was funny because like when I was younger, I was like, Mom, I'm in America. I'm not going to speak, like, I don't want to speak Polish. Like, you know, I never wanted to associate with being Polish, you know, because I'm like, I'm in America, you know. But like my mom made me go to Polish school, Polish catechism, Polish Girl Scouts, like everything.
Polish Girl Scouts?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It was really, really
Literally
cool.
just like a little band of like Polish people in America that are doing Girl Scouts.
Yeah, and like we would like at a very young age, we have to camp out in the woods and like set up our own tents, and like
that's awesome.
It was like it was like some Survivor shit at times, you know.
That's great.
But no,
I feel
it was
like
amazing.
Polish Girl Scouts would be way more intense than American Girl Scouts.
Like we don't sell cookies.
That's fantastic. No, because when I think of Girl Scouts, like I knew some friends that were in Girl Scouts, and I was in Boy Scouts like all growing up, and they would tell us about like stuff, and they're like, this is nothing like Boy Scouts. Like you're not learning anything about the outdoors. Right. But that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was. And it's funny because like
Polish Girl Scouts.
Yeah, I look back on it and that was like kind of just like some of my fondest childhood memories. Yeah. You know, like being in the outdoors and like learning about how to tie different ropes and kind of like Survivor stuff.
That's dope. Wait, so are you friends with like any of those like Polish girls anymore?
Yeah. Like on Facebook and stuff. And like I actually want to go to like the campsite like when they're actually having it and just like, you know, just kind of go back to my roots.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Polish Girl Scouts.
I know.
I never in like a million years would I think like that's a thing in America. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just something I wouldn't think about. Yeah. That's really cool.
I know.
Okay, wait. So let's go back again. Yeah. So you said, obviously dealing with depression and all that stuff, but you were able to get the help you needed. Yeah. And you went back to school.
Mm-hmm. I did. Yeah, I went back and, you know, I finished on time and everything like that.
What was your, like, what did you want to do? You're like, okay, I'm going to college, I'm doing this.
So it's funny because I went into HR. I love people. And so I was like, oh, kind of naive of me to, you know, I was just like, oh, I'm just going to go into it because I like people. But originally, like growing up, like I was always into art. Like you would never see me anywhere without like a coloring book and like Lisa Frank stickers and, you know, like coloring pencils and all of that. And so I was like, I was fascinated by art, but my parents were like, well, you're never going to make money off of it. So you need to actually get like a real career. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I love people. So let me go into HR, you know? Yeah. So yeah, that was my path. And then I kind of got into it and I was like, I don't know if this is really aligned with who I am and what what my gifts to the world are. Like, is this really what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life? So yeah, that's kind of, and then I went back, I got my MBA in marketing. And so that was pretty cool because I just, understood another side of the business, and that kind of helped me with my branding and creating the Travel Critic. And that's been like my creative release ever since then. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so you went to, like, after you graduated, you went into the corporate world and everything, and you said you kind of like realized that wasn't like your calling or whatever.
Yeah.
What like kind of like sparked that? Because I mean, I think a lot of people are it's kind of like a slow like realization, like, damn, this sucks, and then they just feel like there's not really an escape.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think it's like just waking up and not feeling fulfilled, or or constantly knowing that there's something more, and kind of listening to your gut and your intuition. That has been like the hardest for me, because it's like I've been doing this for 6 years. This is something I'm comfortable with. This is something that I'm used to. But like taking the leap to actually focus on what you think is right and what path you're supposed to go down, like, and jumping into the unknown is scary, right? But I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now, and that's what I need to pursue. So I think if you don't use your talents, then you're not helping other people, essentially. Like, you're doing a disadvantage to the world by not living your potential.
Yeah.
And so,
Agreed.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm at in terms of like career rise, or what I'm doing with my life. I'm just going on this journey for the next, a couple months to figure it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you started the Travel Critic, what was it like? How did it manifest like in the beginning? Because you said you've always been traveling, always like loving like new experiences and stuff like that. Were you kind of like thinking like, hey, I'm kind of an expert in this, or were you kind of like starting it for fun, or what was the reasoning? Yeah,
it was definitely for fun initially. People would always ask me like, oh, I'm going to like New York, where should I eat, or what should I do? I'm going here. And I was traveling a lot right out of college too. I was constantly like in New York, Chicago, or California. And so I was just like, okay, let me like leverage or capitalize off of my travels, and let me create like a creative platform that people can see, what I'm doing, or the experiences I've had, or the restaurants I've gone to. So I kind of just wanted to, instead of constantly, people constantly asking me, let me just create something so they can see it, and they can, kind of through storytelling, see my experiences. So that was kind of why I started it. And then it just kind of manifested into this like, whoa, people actually do this for a living?
Yeah.
Like.
So wait, so when you started doing that, was it like a blog, or was it Instagram first, or like where were you putting everything?
It was Instagram.
Gotcha.
It was Instagram first, and then I like created the blog, which I'm trying now to get more into the blog space, because I realized I like the writing aspect of it. So I want to definitely focus more on the blogging.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things, I'm like, well, if Instagram goes away, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that's a big thing with like YouTubers right now, like having to figure out like people that make a living on YouTube, and then the adpocalypse happens and you get demonetized on pretty much everything, and you're not making, even a fraction. Like, I know a guy, his name's Elliott Hulse. He has a YouTube channel called Strength Camp, and he last year, or I think it was like 2016, like collectively the Strength Camp channel like brought in like $100,000 or something like that, and then in the last year it brought in like 10. And like luckily that's not his main revenue stream, but it's just absurd that like same content, like
algorithm just changed.
Well, not even just the algorithm, but like what happened on YouTube was like he used to do these videos, he would call them Yo Elliott, and it was him just talking to the camera and answering people's questions. And in pretty much all of them he cursed. And YouTube all of a sudden said like, okay, any videos with cursing is no longer as ad-friendly content. So we're not going to run ads on anything with cursing. Wow. And so it's like all of a sudden it's like all of this little archive of videos that he's been creating money on for so long, all of a sudden are now not safe for advertisers.
I see.
So it's just like, and it's messed up, because it's like, obviously there's tons of people watching these videos. And the thing is advertisers, what they don't want is like, okay, there's so much like psychology that goes into a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm showing you an ad for McDonald's and then there's like a terrorist video that plays afterwards, you're gonna like subconsciously associate McDonald's with this terrorist video. Or like, I'm gonna play this, Geico commercial, and then all of a sudden you're gonna have Elliott cursing.
Yeah.
We don't want to be associated in your head with us with like swearing.
Right.
I get that, but at the same time, it's like, on TV, like when you have an ad like next to CNN, they're talking about like the Sandy Hook shootings or whatever, and then there's a McDonald's commercial, and that's not ad friendly content.
Exactly.
I think when they're talking about tragedies on the news, they should not do any commercials, because then they're literally monetizing off the sensationalism of a tragedy, which is fucked up. But that's just a side note.
Yeah.
But anyways, it is frustrating because it's like these brands, they're very like hesitant to like dip their entire, they're dipping their toes in it, but they're hesitant to go all in on all this like internet, marketing, blah, blah, blah. Right. And it's just like, I think that YouTube got really scared because they had some major advertisers that pulled because their videos were being run on videos that they didn't approve of. And YouTube, who are they going to pander to? The creators or the people paying the bills?
Right, exactly.
And it makes sense. Like it totally makes sense, but it's messed up.
It is, and then like, it all comes down to money.
Mm-hmm. It always comes down to money.
Which is so fucked up.
It always comes down to money.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, but like, okay, so to go with like the algorithm thing, like on Instagram, like the algorithm changes, everyone freaks out.
Yeah, I know.
But like, so like for people that don't know what we're talking about, basically like the algorithm in simple terms is like Instagram's like way of showing you content. So like if they say like, oh, this picture didn't really perform well. Right. So like the algorithm is like, oh, then we're not going to show that to like 90% of your followers, because like people don't even really like it, and we want people to stay on the app. So we're going to show content that people want to see versus this post, which we don't think people want to see. Yep. And it makes sense. Yeah. Again, it makes sense.
It does.
But like recently there was like a pretty big algorithm change like towards the end of last year or whatever. Did that like affect your stuff?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I got caught up in it. I was like, oh my gosh, why am I losing followers? Or like, why am I not getting enough likes? And I kind of tried to dial back a little bit, because I just realized I got consumed by it at some point. And I'm like, why the fuck am I placing my value and like my worth on
numbers?
And numbers, right? And I was like, I want to speak my truth, and I want people to follow me because they actually want to follow me, or they want to hear what I have to say, or they're inspired, or whatever, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, this is just dumb, right? Like I don't want to do this because of numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's all like this competition, like, oh, well, my page is bigger than this person's page because I have more followers. Like, that's literally the main metric. Yeah. Like, when you look at another page. And I think people are waking up to the fact that people just buy followers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, you'll look at an account and you're like, whoa, 18,000 followers. That used to be like a giant deal. Like, if you saw that, you're like, holy shit. Yeah. But like now, it's like, okay, 18,000 followers. Let's do a little examination of their profile. Right. And you look and they have like 100 likes. You're like, exactly. I don't know.
Right. It's so easy to like,
Because it's like, I have friends that have like 700 followers that get 300 likes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so it's just, it's kind of funny. But anyways.
It is.
But so it was kind of like a good thing in disguise. Like,
yeah, I think so. Like I said, I was so like caught up in the numbers, but at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? If they don't want to follow me, then okay, like that's fine. I don't want people in my circle that don't want to support what I do. So let them go, right?
Yeah,
kind of mentality. Because at first it was kind of like, well, what am I doing wrong? And then you realize, okay, it's kind of out of your control. Like Instagram like is the one controlling this, and it is money now, and like Facebook owns it, Instagram. So I mean, if you're not paying to have your posts promoted and things like that, then Instagram really doesn't give a shit about showing your your photo to everyone.
Yeah, because I mean, like they've explicitly said like their main goals are like obviously making money, but number two, like keeping people on the app. So like, why would they continue to show you like spammy posts or posts that don't perform well? Like they're gonna show you the best ones. Like, it makes sense. But it is frustrating.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like my friend Umama, I did a podcast with her a while ago. Do you know who she is?
Yeah, I remember watching her. Her episode.
Yeah, she's
awesome.
She's really awesome. But like, she lost like a lot of followers. She has like, I think at the time she had like 110,000, and she's now at like 106,000. Yeah, and it was like, kind of, you would think like that would be so frustrating for her, but she was like, I actually appreciate it because it's probably all those followers that I lost, quote unquote followers, were probably like spam accounts or like bots or whatever.
For sure.
There's not like anyone actively like shitting on me or like hating on me. It's not like anyone's like, you know, I'm unfollowing because this, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, it's almost like a cleanse or like a detox or a purge or something. Where it's like, you know, yes, your numbers are going to go down, but like so are everyone's.
Exactly.
And like your content hopefully is going to be exposed to like better, higher quality people.
Right.
And like
100%.
if you act more like human on Instagram, you're gonna it's gonna be better.
Yep. And that's why I've been focusing a lot more on video. And like me showcasing myself, like doing, you know, things that I do and like looking like a mess. Like, I'm sorry, not every single, like, I'm not gonna be this skinny bitch with a acai bowl in Australia on all of my posts. Like, yeah, that's great, but guess what? That's like very filtered life and that's not real life.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like I am really trying to leverage like videos a lot more and like kind of talk about like.
People are craving that too.
Yeah. Like, okay, I missed my flight. Like, this sucks. Like, but this is real life, you know? Like, not everything is gonna be sponsored and you're not going to have all these big brand deals all the time. You know what I mean? Like there's shitty parts to it, you know, just like life. There's going to be good and bad. So why are you only highlighting, you know, the best parts of your life? Like people don't want that. People want to relate to you, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Because, I mean, I get the aspiration aspect of it where people are like, well, but I think it's almost that ship has sailed. Like, just
I think
like,
so.
like generic, like, oh, travel accounts. Like, there's just like a million of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That don't like me. It's like, oh, cool. You're on a yacht in Croatia.
Yeah.
Like, dope. Like, so
I've seen this.
9 million other people.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, there's a time and place for all that type of stuff. But
I agree.
I think, like showcasing like, oh yeah, this is like exactly what happened, or like, oh my gosh, I missed my flight, blah blah blah. Like showcasing the shitty parts of it too.
Absolutely.
Because everyone, that's like actually more like hashtag relatable.
Yeah.
But it's so true.
It's so true. Or like speaking your truth. Honestly, like whatever you're going through, or like parts of like people, you know, me going through depression or having anxiety, you know, like
totally,
like traveling with anxiety, like what does that look like? That's really shitty, you know? And so just getting more real about that. And I think that's when you make those genuine connections that actually matter, because people can relate to you on a deeper level. And so I think that is just so important. And I think that's the point of social media, like for me, is connecting with people, like-minded people, or, you know, you're somehow inspiring other people or helping someone, making an impact. Like at the end of the day, like that's all I want out of it. You know, and that's the reason why I do it.
So when you started your Instagram page and stuff, did you feel like a poser at all? Like, oh my gosh, like people are judging me, or like my friends are gonna think this is lame?
Yeah, for sure. My friends were like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like vlogging? Like, can I eat my food? You know, like, and still it's like my sister's not about it. I know that for sure. Like she hates it, and she's just kind of like, no, why do you do this? Is she older or younger? She's younger. It was just funny because she just like, she's like, no, like, why are you doing this?
The thing about the younger siblings, like, so this happens a lot with like my brother. So like I'll like wear some new thing that I think is cool or whatever, and he's like, why are you wearing that shirt is gay, or like whatever, and then like 6 months later, like he's wearing it or whatever, or like you know. And that didn't happen with the podcast. My family was super supportive with the podcast, which is really cool. But like there's certain things that'll happen, like, why are you doing that? Because people are like adverse to change, and they don't want you to think like you're better than them for some reason or whatever. Like, you know, and so especially as siblings, it can be like hard. Yeah, and like, and it's like my sister's a very private person, and I've always been such an extrovert, and I like having community. I like having a lot of friends, so that's like why this whole social media thing really aligns with me, because like I've been able to expand my horizons, right? Moving to Atlanta, I literally, every single person that I met, I want to say like 99% was from Instagram.
Was Instagram.
That's awesome.
Right, and
we
like if I didn't,
Instagram.
I know, like if I didn't have that platform, like I'd be drinking coffee by myself. Like,
no, it's totally true.
So, I mean, I've met so many dope people in Atlanta, and it was through Instagram. So, like, there's definitely pros to it, you know, as much as people, like, you know, there's a lot of cons to it, but, like, you can definitely make good out of it. Yeah, no, and it's totally true. Like, my friend Umama, who I mentioned a second ago, like, she was talking about how, like, when you like, make yourself, like, an attractive person on social media, like, someone that people are like aspiring to be like, or you know
you're a cool person. Like people actually like want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh wow, you're in my city. Like let's grab a coffee or like let's do this thing or whatever.
Exactly.
I gotta take you to this place. So like, it makes a lot of sense, especially to even today, like so much of our lives are online. It makes sense to have like a strong personal brand, even if you're not like a super social person.
Right.
Because the first thing people are doing when they like meet you is like trying to find you on social media and stuff and like try to stalk your life to figure out if you're like a weirdo.
Right. No.
And if you have like this really cool profile and you have like a cool thing that you do, people, it's kind of weird. There's pros and cons to it where like sometimes people are just trying to like hang out with you because they're like, oh, maybe I'll get a shout out on their page or something like that. Right. Which is weird. Yeah. But like that's not the right way to go about it. But
no, for sure.
It's definitely, most of the time people have good intentions about it.
Yeah.
So
no,
like,
100%.
So for people that are listening that are like, how do you meet these people on Instagram? What are you talking about? Like, how would you interact with people on Instagram that would end up leading to a real friendship or whatever?
Slide in the DMs.
No, it's true.
But like honestly, so like when I was moving to Atlanta initially, I was looking at all the different restaurants and kind of trying to find bloggers or like-minded people and just kind of connect. And so it was about like just stalking like hashtags and
literally
just like exploring what kind of people are in Atlanta in a sense, and like the places, restaurants, things like that. But and then I would just like honestly hit up people in their DM like, hey, I just moved to Atlanta, like if you ever want to grab a coffee or something. And like no one's ever said no. Like everyone's like super friendly and people want to connect, and so I had a really good experience with that. Is just honestly just reaching out and asking someone to grab a cup of coffee.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But like obviously it has to be like-minded, right? So you have to see someone's vibe on their Instagram and their feed, like what they're about, like whether maybe they're a foodie. Like I met so many amazing foodies in Atlanta. So I'm like so glad I was a part of their circle because like I had people to go out to dinner with and go to different events, like restaurant openings, things like that. And like if I wouldn't have reached out, like I would have never experienced that. So honestly, it is just a matter of just putting yourself out there and like making the first step to, like introduce yourself to someone and just do something simple like grabbing a cup of coffee. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I also want to ask you about like brand deals and stuff like that. So like a lot of people I think are very, like they're, they hear, okay, I get it. I can like make friends with people on Instagram. Like that makes sense,
Yeah.
But like how do you get involved with like actually making money from your blog or from your Instagram or whatever? Because I think that's another big disconnect. It's like, I think there's a lot of people with a lot of followers that don't necessarily monetize on it.
Right.
And then there's some people with like 7,000 followers that make, a decent income from it just because they're strategic. So like what has been your experience? Yeah,
so I think it is all about being strategic and aligning, what your niche is and where your interests lie and making sure that it, is parallel to the brand. So like for instance, I did a brand partnership with Grubhub, and that was, it fits with my brand because I blog or I show pictures of the food and the restaurants that I go to. And so this was kind of aligned with my brand because, the whole premise was, okay, I'm traveling. I don't have time to go grocery shopping. I'm going to hit up Grubhub and like have my food delivered. So it just kind of made sense. So it's like really making sure that it makes sense for both parties because if not, then it's like, okay, this isn't like, it's not going to look authentic. And if you weren't like if I wasn't even showcasing, let's say Grubhub, like I would still order food off of that, right? It's not like, I think it just has to be very organic. Like even if you weren't getting paid, you would use that brand or that product or whatever it is. Yeah. I think that's what's key to it.
That makes sense. And then also like, obviously you got to have some sort of influence before you do that. Like they've got to realize that people are paying attention to what you're posting and why they're following you and stuff like that.
Right.
But let's say you do have some sort of like strong presence, like how do you typically go about that? Are brands reaching out to you? Are you approaching different brands? Like how is that happening?
So it's like both, right? I'll get some emails from brands that want to collaborate, and there's been a lot of times where I've just said like, no, like this doesn't make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not like, there's been like lingerie like brands that reach out to me and I'm like, dude, this isn't me. Like this is not me. Like
all of a sudden you post like a picture.
Right. And I was like, what is she doing? Like this is not even natural. You know what I mean? So you just have to really be strategic about that. So what I found is I just pitch myself more or less to the brands because when I'm traveling, like some like brands, restaurants don't know that I'm going to be there, so I have to make it known, right? So I'll reach out to like hospitality groups or restaurants, and then from there we kind of see, is there a creative synergistic partnership that we can do for like the next few posts or something like that. Or like I'll create content for them because I love the storytelling piece of it and creating content. So it's just kind of understanding what they need and what you can provide and over delivering.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people are just very... I like the idea of reaching out to, like, people, like, before you go. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Because I think also, I mean, especially nowadays, like, restaurants and stuff like that, they do have a budget for this type of stuff. But they might not know where to look, too. So if you're reaching out to them, that makes sense.
And I think that's important, just to get your brand out there as well, you know? Because not always, you're not always going to have brands reaching out to you, so you kind of have to do the work and kind of research what makes sense.
Yeah, and like obviously your brand is centered around like it's the Travel Critic, so you're like supposed to be like critical of different things. So like if this is a brand that doesn't feel right, or you're like, I don't even know if I support this product, that would be very inauthentic. And
Exactly.
Like, it would be detrimental to your thing, because if people buy it or they go there and it sucks, then that's on you. And they're like, wow, I thought that I could trust her, and like now I realize that I can't.
Exactly. That's why like I do a lot of upfront research. So okay, let me look at all the different restaurants. Let me look at their Instagram feeds. Which ones would I go to anyways? Yeah. So that's how I make the decision, and then I reach out to them. Then it makes sense.
Yeah. How important is a restaurant's like Instagram feed nowadays?
That aesthetic is like super important, right? Like, does it match with mine, and is it aligned? So I think every brand, and whatever, if it's a restaurant or whatever, like they need to have an Instagram presence.
Yeah. Well, I feel okay. So like this is a weird thing, because like Instagram used to just be kind of like this. Like, I'm going to post the photo of my food because that's what I'm doing. And it was like literally Instagram. It was like, this is what I'm doing right now. And now it's evolved into almost being this like social resume where you kind of showcase your life. And it's, kind of a very, like you said, like calculated and, highlight reel sort of deal. Like, like you said, do you think like every restaurant should have that? I agree.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of, areas of businesses or whatever that like don't have an Instagram, or they don't feel like they need to be there. Like, I mean, I totally agree. I think Instagram is like one of the first places that I look for stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just don't think people understand, like, especially older people that are running businesses, they don't understand how important that is.
Yeah.
Like, so if you were like trying to convey that to someone, like why do you feel like it's like so important?
Well, because I feel like right now that's where all the eyes are, especially for like the target audience, right? Like 20s and like 30s. I mean, that's where everyone is. Like that's where I think even more than Facebook, like everyone just goes to Instagram now. And now that they have like the IGTV and everything, so now there's more video content, that's just going to draw even a larger audience. So I mean, I think it's so important for brands to be on at least that platform, and like there's creative ways to to showcase whatever product it is or restaurant. Like for me, I'm so big on storytelling, so let me just show my entire experience there. And like I want to make it a point to kind of get a little bit more deeper. Like, let me understand the history behind this restaurant, or like why did it open up? Like what when I was in Philly a few weeks ago, I went to this one restaurant. Charlie was a sinner, and talking to the manager there, and he's telling me that this used to be like a brothel, and I was like, what? This is so cool. But like getting a deeper understanding, and I think restaurants have a good opportunity to do that on Instagram as a platform.
Definitely.
And like that makes it more authentic, and it draws people more.
Because there's a million places to get good food, but like it's all about kind of the little details. And all the extra little things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously Instagram came out with stories. Like, when was it? Maybe 2 years ago now. And obviously that's changed the way that like everyone uses Instagram. But you mentioned IGTV. Like, how do you think that is going to change things? Like, do you think people are actually going to like, because right now if I post a story versus if I post IGTV, I get way less views on my IGTV. Yeah. But like, where do you think it's going? Like, do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Like,
I think
is it the new YouTube?
I mean, it's hard to like compete with YouTube right now, but I think at the end of the day, like they want Instagram to have all the capabilities, like one platform that does everything, right? So
but I feel like that's Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the target audience is different.
I know. Which sucks though, because Facebook has all the a million features, and it's like Instagram's getting a little bit too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're trying to like tack on like too many things to this like simple platform.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like people are using it for a lot more things, so
yeah.
Give the people the tools they want.
Exactly. And I think it's just going to evolve even more. And I really don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Just because with like all of the additions that they're having and just like all the changes, I really don't see it going anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like you almost have to be on that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's so many use cases for Instagram too. Like, you know, because it's a weird platform where like brands and people and, you know, all kinds of stuff exist in like one place. And it's almost kind of like, I feel like Pinterest, you know, was just like this place where you could like, it was like an aspirational, it was almost like a wish list sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where you were like, you know, and it was very decidedly like a female oriented platform. And I feel like Instagram is like almost kind of trying to like meld that world too with like how they're having like, you can shop on Instagram now and like buy things literally in the app. Yeah. Or like, you know, IGTV, like you'll be able to watch content from your favorite creators. Maybe they're not selling stuff, but like, you know, whatever.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I'm torn because I like the new features, but at the same time, I miss the good old days where it's just like chronological feed and like no one really cared and it was just fun.
Exactly.
You know?
No, 100%.
It's gotten like a little too serious. And you're like,
I agree.
Okay, we're shooting this piece of content. Like, where is it going to go? Like, are we shooting it in like horizontal? Or are we going to, is it going to go on IGTV? Like all this stuff. It's just like very, very complex.
Oh no, 100%. I agree. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is becoming too much. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot.
I think they need to make a separate app, kind of like how Facebook has like Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
They need to make like IG like classic, where it's literally just like the good old IG, and like people that want that can just go there. And then like when you want to do like your other stuff and like get more in the DMs and like, you know, these powerful like messaging tools, like then you can open up the real app.
Right.
But like if you just want to like go and like browse your friends' stuff. Or also, that's another thing. Sometimes I just want to see my friends, but I'm like my whole feed is just brands and like, you know, ads.
And I've been unfollowing so many people because I was like, okay, I'm following way too many people. I don't even know these people. And a lot of this, I'm just like, this doesn't resonate with me anymore. So I've been doing like a cleanse and like a purge. And I mean, at the same time, my numbers are going down too because people are unfollowing me, but I don't care. I'm just like, there's too much crap on my feed.
It's like if you're only following me because I follow you, then that's like kind of a dumb relationship anyways.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily even, I think before the unfollow button used to be such a mean type of thing. Like it, you know, it has that connotation, like unfollowing, like I'm not, and on Facebook it's even more serious, unfriending. Like it's like, do you wish to unfriend this person? Like, so it's like unfollowing is like, I don't even give a shit about you. I don't want to even look at your stuff.
Exactly.
But it's kind of just like, I just need to like really like, no offense, dude, like I'll go like look at your page every once in a while, maybe I'll search you up or whatever, but like when I'm thinking about you, but I don't need like, you know, 5,000 people that I'm following.
Exactly.
Or whatever. It's just like,
100%.
I think 1,000 is like a good number to follow.
Yeah.
Like it's like a good number to shoot for. Because you can purge a lot. And you're probably following a million stupid accounts.
Yeah, I am. And these are people that I've followed, from like the get-go, right? Like when Instagram first started. And then I started unfollowing people. I'm like, this person hasn't posted since 2016. Like, why was I even following them, right? Yeah. So it's like this cleansing thing that I'm going through right now. Yeah.
Well, also Instagram is interesting because it does have that ratio, following to unfollowing. Like it shows you how many people are following you.
Exactly.
Which becomes like a social thing. Like you don't want to follow too many people because then you're thirsty.
Of course.
And you're like following more than people are following you. Like no one cares about you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's why I think people gravitated towards Snapchat because like Snapchat didn't make any of that public. It was all just like, these are my friends. It doesn't matter. There's no like
you see the top friends.
You see the top friends, but then they got rid away.
Yeah, because like it got shady, right?
It got real shady. The top friends thing never bothered me that much, but I think a lot of clingy girlfriends were very upset.
Like, who is this?
Not even just clingy girlfriends, just girlfriends in general.
Oh, I agree. 100%. 100%.
I'm a huge Snapchat advocate, and it sucks that Snapchat is like, I see what's happening on Instagram, and I feel like Snapchat is like dying.
Yeah,
but then I talk to like normal people, and not to say that everyone's not a normal person, but people that aren't as like so invested as like promoting something on Instagram or like promoting their brand or whatever. And they're like, no, I use Snapchat like all the time.
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
Like I use Snapchat consistently.
Yeah.
And like I never watch Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's weird for me because I grew like a pretty big following on Snapchat, and so my numbers on Snapchat are still more than on my Instagram.
Oh, interesting.
Which is like very like hard for me because I feel like Instagram is giving us all these like cool tools, and like you can post longer stuff on IGTV now. And like Snapchat though, it's like those are my peeps. Like those are my homies.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those people don't follow me on Instagram,
Right.
so I'm always like torn.
Exactly.
Where I should be posting stuff. So
I really don't even use Snapchat because it was just like it got too much. I'm like I can't be on.
It's not effective for like brands
platform.
or like professionals.
Yeah.
It's very very catered towards like teens and like high schoolers.
Absolutely.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
But
so I don't even use it, honestly.
Yeah.
All my focus is on Instagram, which I'm trying to, like I said, shift and do more like true blogging and writing and working with, travel magazines, things like that.
That makes sense. So are you like doing, are you ever like doing, you said you were like creating content for restaurants or for places. So like when you do like some sort of partnership, you're actually like kind of like doing a takeover on their thing or like
basically.
What? Gotcha.
Yep. So I'm doing like a takeover, and then so I'm posting like on my handle and then giving them the content, and then they can use it on their Instagram, or I'll do like an Instagram like story takeover type of thing. So it just kind of depends on what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Some of the more seasoned restaurants, I guess, that are really good with content, sometimes they don't need more like photos or whatever because they have like someone in-house. So it's just a matter of understanding, like where are the opportunities or like what do they need help with and like how can I help? Like, how can my brand help?
Were you like a photographer type kind of before or not really? Because you said you were like into art and stuff, but
Yeah, I was always into art, but I never picked up like photography until like I got more serious with my content because like for the longest time I was borrowing my sister's camera, and then like one weekend I took it to Chicago and she's like, yo, where's my camera? And I'm like, sorry. So I was like, okay, I need to invest in my own. So then I like, got a DSLR and everything like that. But I mean, that and it's like in itself is like trying to, figure out how to use this camera properly.
Yeah.
And photography in general, it's like, it's a big investment.
I think a lot of people think that when you spend more on a camera, it's going to be like easier to use.
No.
Almost. Like it's very
so
much the opposite.
Hard. I wish I would have gotten more of a beginner's camera versus like spending all this money on a super expensive camera.
What did you get?
I got a Canon 6D.
Nice.
So it's like a great camera and everything.
Very
but I'm
photocentric.
Like, but it's
very challenging.
Very, very like, and so I'm still learning it, Yeah. And so like taking the time to actually constantly shoot and perfect your craft, like it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I got more like I was kind of in the same camp where I was like starting to do more like video stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I need to like actually get a real camera.
Yeah.
And so, I got a Canon 70D.
Oh, nice.
And it was a lot more challenging than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I always just had this idea in my mind that, like, oh, well, if I had a nice camera, I could make pictures like that.
Right.
Like, photography, all you do is just point it at the thing and, like, take the picture. Like,
exactly.
You, like, line up the composition good and, like,
and then the
camera takes care of the rest.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
No. It's, like, the total opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you have to have an eye
true.
for it. Like, you have to have some sense of, what looks good.
That's true. And I feel like I did kind of have, especially with video, I did have that because I watched a lot of, like, I consume a lot of video.
Right.
So I know kind of like what my style is and like what, like, and I, even before I had the camera, I would watch like videos of people teaching you how to like edit stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't even like have the software. I'm just like, how do they do that?
Right.
Oh, cool. So then once I got into it, it was a very natural like path to go down.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of, at least me included, I was very like misled.
Right. Yeah.
As to how challenging it really was.
100%.
Yeah. So like on your feed and like on your stuff, like what percentage of stuff are you like shooting on a DSLR, going into like Lightroom and like editing, blah, 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 and then like sending over to your camera? Or like how much of it is just like, fuck this, I'm just gonna do it quick and like do it on my iPhone or whatever?
So like it's all DSLR, honestly. So for me, for the longest time, I had a hard time with my aesthetic and trying to keep it cohesive.
Yeah.
And so now I'm really focused on like, okay, here are like 1 or 2 presets that kind of fit like my aesthetic, and then I just kind of stick to those because if not, like your shit's like all over the place.
Yeah.
And people were like, like what is she about, So I kind of try and stick to like one preset. So I'll take the pictures and everything like that, put it in
Throw it in
Lightroom.
that.
Yup. And then just make like little tweaks if I need to.
Yeah.
And then like obviously I use a lot of different apps to help with that. Like I use if I'm trying to like,
plan out your
out,
posts.
yup, and like what flows, what doesn't flow. So that really helps.
I always thought the app was pronounced unum. I don't know.
I'm just like
I was like I was like it's like UNUM. It's a cool app. But
I know.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it being like when I saw it, I'm like, oh, unum. I don't know why I thought
I don't know, it could be.
I feel like kind of makes more sense because it's like stacked like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was called unum.
I don't know. It could
Hey,
be.
if anyone from that company is listening, then let us
please
know.
let us
Or if
know.
someone knows the correct pronunciation.
Yeah.
I feel like it doesn't matter. We're giving them free press right now.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
No, but it's like a gridding app where you can like plan out your posts and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. And so that's been like super helpful. But for me, it's like always a struggle to have enough content because I'm all about like travel. So I have to be traveling. It's not like it's not like my entire account is just food where I can go to a restaurant every single day and just post all food pics because that's going to get boring because that's not what I'm about. It's not just food.
Not just food. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And another thing that I like that you said you have to actually be traveling because I think a lot of like quote unquote like travel pages they'll take like one trip and then they'll just kind of like backlog tons of content for like the whole year, like TBT all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Like, TBT, wish I was back.
I know. And like I've had to do that a couple times, because I'm like, wait, shit, like
TBTs are fine, but
here's a Paris pic I'm just gonna post because I need like more content, So I think the most important thing is just like having enough content and like planning it out and like go to your local whatever like restaurant or something or like make something creative out of it.
You don't have in your own town, kind of.
Yeah, like you don't have to go overseas to create content, like drive an hour up north and like go to some like desolate locations that no one knows about and like kind of bring more awareness to that. Or like go to a really dope Airbnb in your state. I'm sure there's some really cool ones and you can create content out of that or, you can definitely get creative.
Yeah. Airbnbs are cool places to shoot videos too. Because it's like a new set. Like, especially if you get like a cool like trendy one.
I'm like all about Airbnb. Like it's been such a game changer. I think.
It's awesome.
Just because like I've stayed in Airbnbs where like the hosts are there and then I connect with them and then
it's cool, actually.
like it's so I love it. And it's a lot like it's cost effective too. Like if you're traveling with someone, it makes it super cheap. And a lot of times like you can find some really like eclectic ones. Like hotels are great and all, but like it doesn't compare to the experience.
It makes you feel like you're living there. Like it was like one in particular that really made me feel like that. It was in Madrid, and like our front door opened up onto like this busy street.
That's so
you
sweet.
walk out.
Sounds like the one I was in
and there's
Madrid.
literally just like people walking right in front of you, and you're like, whoa! Like you couldn't even step onto your front porch because literally there's just like people walking.
Yeah.
It is like really cool.
Yeah, mine was like that in Madrid too.
Yeah, where
So
was
cool.
it? In like ours was in like Puerto del Sol, like super touristy area.
Yeah, mine was around there too.
Maybe we had the same one.
I know it was around. It was by the market. What was that called? I forget what the market is, but it's like it's all like the fresh food. It's like they're almost. Oh my gosh!
Is it like a weekly thing? They do it, or it's all of the day?
Yeah, Mercado, something Mercado.
Something Mercado.
Yeah.
Something market.
Yeah, something market.
Something market.
But
it's called
like,
the something market.
It's like their main one. It's incredible.
I don't know.
But it was like in Seoul area.
Awesome.
But anyways, Madrid is just amazing in general. Spain is a special place in my heart.
Underrated food in Spain, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Like when people are talking about food, like not very often are people like, oh yeah, Spanish food. Like everyone's always like, oh yeah, you got to go to Italy and get Italian food or like whatever. Like, but Spanish food is super good.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then like the tapas they give you, like the free tapas that you go to the restaurant.
It's
I'm just
awesome.
like, this is amazing.
And some of them are really shitty, and some of them are like a freaking like real good appetizer that you're like, what?
Yeah. No,
some of them are like
sure.
olives, and you're like, okay.
And you're like, okay, here's some peanuts.
But some of them you get like a freaking like torta or something.
Yep.
Like you get like something really good.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna ask you too.
Yeah.
Okay, so number one, when you're traveling, how do you balance like, okay, this is like I'm having this experience for myself. This is like a fun trip, and how much of it is like I'm here to work, I have to take pictures, I'm stressed out, I'm like freaking out about my content and posting and blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like that's a very hard line to balance, especially when you're running something like you are. But even for just like normal people that are like, how do I balance like living in the moment versus like trying to share this on social media?
Absolutely.
And like if you go somewhere and don't post about it, like does it even count? You know what I mean?
No,
like that's how people
sure.
feel about it.
For sure. That is something that I have struggled with since I've been doing this. And now I'm trying to get just having more awareness about it, I think is super important. So right now what I do is, okay, here's the one day on my trip that I'm dedicating to content. So like I will do like 4 outfit changes in one day and make it look like this was a week-long process. But no, this was all in one day because I truly just want to enjoy it, because I noticed that a lot of my trips, I was so fixated on, okay, I need to have this content. I need to take this picture. Oh my gosh, like I need a picture in front of this. And it just got to a point where I was like, okay, this is taking away from why I'm traveling, right? And this is just so, like, I'm being so fixated on getting the perfect post on Instagram. And I was like, this is kind of silly and this isn't the point of traveling.
Exactly.
So if I'm gonna do this, is it like a paid sponsored thing? Am I creating content like in exchange for a free stay? Kind of balancing that out. So if it is, then I'll dedicate like an entire day getting the content out, because it is work at that point, instead of, taking photos the entire trip.
Yeah.
So it is a balancing act. And I think I'm starting to really hone in on that now, and really making sure that I am living in the moment and that I am like enjoying my experience versus always focusing on creating the content. So I think right now I've gotten better at that, and that's what I want to keep like perfecting, is just like how quickly can I get the content and then just truly enjoy being there.
That's nice. Yeah, I like that idea of like having like a day dedicated to it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think a lot of people also, they almost like, they don't think about what story they're trying to tell when they're on their trip or whatever.
Yeah.
So then they just kind of like take photos and videos of everything, and then when they go try to like do something with it, especially with video, this happens a lot. You have like all this video, and then there's no actual subject matter once you go to make an edit. Like once you go to like throw this all together, there's like no point.
Yeah.
It's like you made everything the point, so there's actually no point.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah,
you have to kind of narrow it down in a sense. Like, what are you trying to show? Like, like, are you trying to show the wellness aspect of this place, or like, what is it, But yeah, no, I think that's super important.
Yeah.
To kind of keep in mind.
Yes. Okay, I know you probably have to go soon.
Yeah, so I have to go see a psychic.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is kind of trippy stuff.
Why are you going to see the psychic?
So one of my best friends went to her and was like, yeah, you gotta go. She's amazing. Like, she said so much stuff and it was so detailed, and I got very intrigued.
Does she know anything about you beforehand?
No,
like, you're
she doesn't
walking in
even
blind?
know my name. And I'm like super, like, I believe in God. I was, I go to church and everything, and I know this is against religion, but, I'm kind of like curious, and I feel like I kind of want a little bit more confirmation on a couple things, and I'm curious to see if she will say those things.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to call up my psychic and fill her in on everything we just talked about.
I know, right?
No, that's funny. No, I'm always very skeptical of that stuff, because you don't know, but
yeah.
I think you just have to be like because there's certain things you can say and certain things you can do that like, lead them to come up to conclusions that are sometimes accurate. You never know.
And sometimes they're not. So like, I'm going in there not saying anything. I want to see what she's going to say.
Yeah.
My mom's going with me. My mom's kind of nervous. She has an appointment, but she doesn't know if she's going to go.
Huh.
I'm just going to do it and kind of see. But I'm just curious, because I am skeptical. Like, like I don't know if like what she's going to say is even aligned with, why I'm there.
Hey, maybe we'll have to do a follow-up psychic podcast and see what happens.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I wanted to ask you one final thing to kind of wrap things up. Okay, so obviously, Travel Critic, what are your like if you had to say, okay, this is my best trip ever, like recommending to somebody, like this is where you gotta go. Or, like maybe super underrated place or something like that like, is off the beaten path or something.
So, oh my gosh, that's like, people always ask that, and it's like such a loaded question. But like, one of the experiences
or maybe like top 3.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say like top 3 and why. So number 1, Positano, Italy, was just one of those like places that it just holds a very special place in my heart. I went with my sister. We went for her birthday, and so it was just like the food, the people, the scenery, everything about it. Like, and when we went to our hotel, I felt like I was seeing my aunt, and she was so excited to see me. And so it was like this very like family bond you have like wherever you go with anyone. And so you felt like you just felt so welcome there. And the entire trip in itself was incredible. We took like a boat to Capri and Anna Capri, and that was just beautiful. And I know it's like a very touristy place, but we went like 4 years ago when it wasn't as touristy, I would say. And so we had an amazing time. One place in the U.S. I would say is Marfa, Texas. It's a very eclectic area, very artsy. Me and my sister drove from the airport.
Isn't it down like near the border?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a super like almost like sketchy in a way, but not.
Yeah. Marfa with an F, right?
Yeah,
not
there's
Martha, like the name. Marfa.
Right, Marfa. Yeah. It's a very eclectic, artsy city. So like when you're driving down the highway, there's this Prada pop-up shop, and it's like from 2000, maybe 1 or 2003, like the actual clothes and like the pieces in there. And like, it's a great like Instagram, like photo op. Yeah. But it's just very...
It's a Prada pop-up shop?
Yeah. In the middle of like
It's still there?
Yeah, but like you can't go in. So it's just like literally like a stand front, like a storefront, I mean. Whoa. And I can show you a picture of what it looks like. But yeah, it's very unique, right? And so going there, there's this area called El Cosmico, and there's like teepees and just like kind of like Airbnb. You can stay in these different like trailers, basically. And it's just very, very different. It's unlike any place that I've traveled to. It's very slow living. And like we tried to go to a restaurant, like everything was closed. Like there's no, like everyone opens up their restaurants whenever they want. There's like 4 or 5 in the entire city. So like kind of makes you really...
You're not open.
I know, right?
We don't feel like being open, so we don't have to be open.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but it was like one of those places where it's so unlike anywhere else that I've been, and it just kind of made me appreciate like the slow living, Yeah. And it was just. I felt like, it is very artsy, and there's like a meaning behind everything that they do, in a sense. A very close-knit community. People like really value, I feel like, the FaceTime and not just, like the social aspect of life, like the social media aspect of life. So that was a very, very interesting place. And then I would say Iceland, honestly. I fell in love with Iceland, and I know you're going, so
tonight.
Like I'm super. Oh my gosh, it's tonight. I'm so like me and my sister slept.
Red eye. It sucks.
Oh no way, we did that too, but it's so worth it. Like we slept in a car, like the first day there, and it was like.
You rented a car and slept in it?
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty grungy. I like that.
Yeah, and it's one of those places where. It makes me realize like how far removed I am from like Mother Nature, as cheesy as that is, but like you just see the surroundings, and everywhere you drive you're like, holy shit, this world is so beautiful. Like one of the most defining moments of that trip was watching wild horses just running.
Wow.
And like I just was like, I almost like cried. I'm like, this is insane. Like their hair is just flowing, and you're just like, life is so beautiful,
Yeah, you're like, these aren't owned by like people. These are wild horses just doing their thing.
Yeah, and
that is really cool.
And you just feel like you're in such a very untouched part of the world. Even though it is like, it has become very touristy. You're just kind of on this like journey where, you're really like close to Mother Nature in a sense, right? Like as cheesy as that sounds, but that kind of made me kind of take a step back and just appreciate it. Yeah. And the people were nice, although it's so expensive. So like we lived off of Cliff Bars. It's funny because I just had a Cliff Bar yesterday, and I texted a picture to my sister, and I was like, dude, Iceland trip. Like we lived off of these.
That's funny.
And we ate at gas stations and stuff because like their subways were relatively cheap compared to like eating dinner.
Yeah.
So, that was an amazing trip. So like Italy, Marfa, and Iceland, I would say were like 3 highlights.
That's a good like widespread recommendation. I like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, let's wrap things up. I know you got to get to your psychic appointment. Yeah. Okay, but before you leave, what if people want to follow you, all that stuff, where do they do all that?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, the Travel Critic. And then if you want to check me out online, like blogging wise, www.thetravelcritic.co. But that link is going to be in my Instagram as well. So that's going to be the best way is Instagram.
Link in bio, fam.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for being on the show.
You.
I totally forgot how to pronounce your last name, but Klaudia
Jakubiak.
Yeah,
Klaudia Patricia Jakubiak. You could just say that too.
I could say that, but I am not going to try. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Of course.
And,
thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
So glad you're in Detroit and we got to do this.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you later. Boom. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I know I sure did. That was one of the funniest recording locations of all time. Such a very unique spot. Check out my Instagram to see some photos from that experience. And while you're there, make sure you go follow Klaudia on IG. Right now, she is in Thailand, and her stories are insane. You got to go check them out, too. So you made it to the end. You're probably looking for more episodes to listen to. So I'm going to give you some recommendations of other episodes that I think you would really enjoy. Number 1, go listen to episode 83 with Mallory Hope Schwartz from Hopefully Plated. She is a concierge nutritional planner, a fitness instructor, an internet socialite of sorts, and she also travels quite a bit. I had a super fun conversation with her all about nutrition and how everyone has different needs, achieving your fitness goals, all kinds of other fun stuff. She's like a living Instagram story. Go check it out. That was episode 83. Also, go check out episode 87 with Umama Cabria, also known as smallandstrong.fit on Instagram, where she has 107,000 fans, and rightfully so. She has created a cult-like following by being completely transparent in everything she does. Bad days, good days, workouts, meal plans. She shares everything, and she interacts with her community super hardcore. And she also runs SAS Brands, which is an agency that develops social media strategies for health and fitness brands. She's amazing. Go check it out, episode 87 with Umama Cabria. And last episode, I told you that the next episode was going to be with Tori Madison, but actually that is going to be the next episode. I delayed it a bit. Victoria is pursuing a master's degree in integrative nutrition and health coaching. She also helps other people overcome fears and limiting beliefs to awaken their passions and rise from pain into purpose. She's the co-author of the book, 20 Beautiful Women, 20 Stories That Will Heal Your Soul, Ignite Your Passion, and Inspire Your Divine Purpose, and the ebook, 3 Daily Habits to Holistic Health and Heart Healing. After tragically losing her younger brother, she was absolutely devastated, but I think it was the catalyst that really set her off on this journey of physical and spiritual healing. She has an amazing story, and we laughed, we cried, and we got really vulnerable. It was awesome. So if you want to support the show, definitely go to iTunes. You can rate it 5 stars there. Also, share the show with your friends. If you're talking about podcasts, I would love a mention. Also, if you want to follow me, you can go to my website, andrewdeitch.com. I got links to all my social media handles and accounts there. Thank you guys so much. You're the shit. Thank you so much for listening. Really big things in the works, big things coming in the near future. I love you guys, and I will see you on episode 99.
I'm not going to be this skinny bitch with a acai bowl in Australia on all of my posts. Like, yeah, that's great, but guess what? That's a very filtered life, and that's not real life. Yeah.